Here's a question nobody asks successful disruptors. What happens when people stop seeing you as the alternative and start seeing you as just another bank or tech company or whatever industry you're supposedly disrupting? That's the interesting spot EQ Bank finds itself in right now. Think about it. In just 7 years, they've gone from a startup to over 500,000 customers and more than 8 billion in deposits. They've done it by being everything the big banks aren't. Fully digital, no fees, great rates, and none of those frustrating branch visits we all love to hate. Classic challenger brand story, right? The nimble upstart taking on the bloated incumbents. EQ Bank even positioned themselves as Canada's challenger bank, which they've trademarked, asked the CEO, and it worked brilliantly. But here's where it gets interesting. When you're the underdog, your story is simple. We're not them. You're the anti-bank, the alternative, the refreshing change. It's a powerful narrative. Humans love seeing David take on Goliath. We're wired that way. The problem? Success changes things. When you reach 500,000 customers and billions in deposits, you're not really the plucky underdog anymore. You've become something else. And that's where many challenger brands hit a wall. They get stuck in the we're not them story forever, defining themselves by what they're against rather than what they truly are. It's like being the rebel teenager well into your 30s. At some point, you need your own identity. This is EQ Bank's moment of truth. And it's fascinating because it reveals something crucial about positioning and brand evolution that most people miss. See, positioning isn't just about being different or better. Those are table stakes. Real positioning, the kind that builds category kings, is about owning a concept in people's minds. Tesla doesn't just make electric cars, they own the future of transportation. Volvo doesn't just make safe cars, they own safety itself. So, what concept could EQ Bank own? What territory in the Canadian banking landscape is both unoccupied and deeply meaningful to customers? Well, looking at EQ Bank's DNA, their cloud-first infrastructure, their emphasis on transparency, their willingness to integrate with partners like Wise for international transfers, there's something powerful emerging here, something you might call openness. Not just open banking in the technical sense, but openness as a broader concept. Openness to new ideas, to innovation, to collaboration, openness to serving customers that traditional banks often overlook. Newcomers, freelancers, small businesses. Think about it. While the big five banks are closed systems, EQ Bank is building an open ecosystem. While traditional banks put up barriers, EQ Bank tears them down. No fees, no minimums, no unnecessary complexity. But here's where it gets really interesting. The concept of openness isn't just a marketing angle. It's already baked into everything EQ Bank does. Their technology is open and cloud-based, making integrations and innovation easier. Their products are open to more people with fewer restrictions and barriers. Their communication is open and transparent without the usual banking doublespeak. Their platform is open to partnerships and collaboration. This isn't about being anti-bank anymore. It's about being pro-possibility, about creating a new category of banking that's more accessible, more collaborative, and more aligned with how people actually want to manage their money. The shift is subtle, but crucial and obvious. Instead of being defined by what they're against, EQ Bank can be defined by what they're for. Instead of being the alternative to traditional banks, they become the blueprint for what modern banking should be. Here's the challenge. And it's a fascinating one. How do you evolve your story without losing what made you special in the first place? How do you grow up without selling out? The answer lies in understanding the difference between positioning and a message. Your positioning, the concept you own in people's minds, should be timeless. But how you talk about it, how you bring it to life, that can and should evolve. Look at Apple. They've always owned creativity through technology. But how they express that has evolved from Think Different to iPhone to whatever comes next. The core remains constant while the expression evolves. For EQ Bank, this means keeping their challenger spirit, the drive to question conventional banking wisdom, while elevating the conversation from "we're not them" to "here's what banking could be." Imagine a bank that's not just a bank, but a platform for financial possibilities, where innovation isn't just about having a slick app, but about fundamentally rethinking how money moves and works, where open isn't just a technical term on a McKinsey slide, but a philosophy that touches everything from product design to customer service. That's the opportunity in front of EQ Bank right now, to transform from a challenger to a category creator, from alternative to archetype, from the bank that's not them to the bank that shows us all what banking could be. The beauty of this evolution is that it builds on everything that made EQ Bank successful in the first place. Their technical innovations, their customer focus, their willingness to question conventional wisdom, but it reframes these strengths not as weapons against the incumbents, but as building blocks for something new. This isn't just about EQ Bank, by the way. It's about understanding how brands and categories evolve, how success creates new challenges and opportunities, how the stories that get you started aren't always the stories that help you scale. What got you here is not going to get you there, right? The banks EQ Bank set out to challenge, they're not really the point anymore. The real opportunity isn't to beat them at their own game, but to change the game entirely. To own a concept, openness, that's bigger than banking, but deeply relevant to how people want to manage their money. That's what category creation is all about. Not just being different or better, but fundamentally redefining what's possible. Not just challenging the status quo, but creating a new standard. Think of it as being more resonant and having a deeper connection with your customers. For EQ Bank, the path forward isn't about becoming a bigger challenger bank. It's about becoming something else entirely. Openness to innovation, openness to collaboration, openness to possibility. The underdog story got them here, but the category creator story, that's what could take them somewhere entirely new. And that's the fascinating thing about positioning. It's not just about where you are, but where you could be. Not just about what you're against, but what you're for. Not just about being different, but about making a difference. For EQ Bank, the difference could be huge. They have the technology, they have the momentum, and the mindset to do it. The question is, are they ready to stop being defined by what they're not and start being defined by what they could be? Because that's where the real story begins.